he'll be roundly and soundly insulted and humiliated for more than an hour's time, principally at the hands of one Lord Wedderburn, who is going to stoop so low in his haranguing of the old gentleman as to comment upon the nature of Dr. Franklin's clothes, saying something to this effect. What, gentlemen, what has this filthy American provincial to do before this noble and august body? Look at the nature of his tattered old worn coat. I'll not hear a word he has to say, nor should you be wise. Dr. Franklin will then finally understand, as I do already, that this notion of returning as dutiful subjects to the king is absurd. He will then return to Philadelphia, and I will finally have the pleasure of making his acquaintance, sir, at the second session of the Grand Congress in May of 1775. Though we'll have very little to do one with another, serving on different committees for one thing, but I must tell you, sir, that Dr. Franklin is of a character very opposite to mine own. I cannot express too often nor too strongly to this polite company at how devout and orthodox a Christian I am, and therefore I am most abstemious as to spirituous drink and other earthly pursuits. He, on the other hand, is suspected by many of having embraced the deistical philosophy and is quite fond of spirituous drink and other earthly pursuits. I'll have to tell you this, though. I will always secretly treasure his very keen and savage wit. To give you perhaps the most excellent example of Dr. Franklin being truly imbued with that fiery American spirit. And here again I must look to the not-too-distant future. When we finally, after a long 8 years of war with our mother country, prevail, Dr. Franklin will be among that delegation of Americans representing these United States at the Treaty of Paris in 1783. And he will learn in advance that Lord Wedderburn will be there representing Great Britain, he who had humiliated Franklin some years before. Dr. Franklin will make a very great point of wearing the same coat to their first
That's great.
Indeed, in the absence of any hands, I'll be very pleased to share with you a tale that I myself will hear from none other than the lips of Dr. Franklin at the second session of the Congress when I finally meet him. What will trigger this particular tale will be a situation whereby in just that short journey from where the Congress has just adjourned, and I and a number of my fellows who were lodging in the city tavern, just in that short distance of 2 blocks, there will be a most unexpected downpour of rain. And by the time we finally reach the lodging house, we'll all of us be quite wet. It will be suggested by one of our company that before we simply retire above stairs to change clothes or what have you, that we indulge in some genteel conversation for a change after the congressional deliberations have stopped for the day, and gather before the fire in the public dining room. And there we are, all huddled before the fire, when behind us we hear a chuckling. We turn to see the source of it, and there stands old Franklin. He begs our pardons, of course, but then proceeds to say, "But gentlemen, I cannot help but be somewhat amused at the spectacle of all of you huddled before the fire as you are, for it recalls to me something that occurred in my earlier years." He shared it with us. I'll do so now for you, with the hope that if at least you don't find it amusing, you might find it useful if you yourselves might be seeking a warm and dry place later on this day. Some years ago, Dr. Franklin was riding along a country lane. It was very late at night, very dark, very cold, a freezing rain. He was soaked to the skin. All he could think of for some miles was to get to a warm place and drink a hot toddy, or 6, or 7. But finally he come to a crossroads where there was a tavern. He went within and to his great disappointment discovered that it seemed almost every other man in the county had the very same idea as he. There was a blazing fire to be sure, but it was packed 6 deep. He couldn't get anywhere close to it, even to dry his frozen hands. So there he stood to the rear of the pack, all a-shivering and such, when after a time the innkeeper enters into the chamber. And Franklin says to him, "Oh, begging your pardon, sir, begging your pardon, but I should wish a room for myself and for my horse this evening, if you please." "Very well, sir," says the innkeeper, "we can accommodate you." "Furthermore," says Franklin, I've been thinking of nothing else for miles but that of a hot toddy and a large plate of steaming oysters, if you will be so kind, sir. Very well, sir, says the innkeeper. We shall be pleased to accommodate thee. So after a time, the innkeeper returns. He presents to Franklin the hot toddy, and then presents this very large plate of steaming oysters. Whereupon Franklin says, in a very loud voice, so that the whole room can hear him, "Oh, you mistake me, sir, you mistake me. The oysters, while very fine indeed, mark you, are not for me, they're for my horse. Will you kindly deliver this fine plate of steaming oysters out to the stables and see that my horse is presented them?" "What, sir?" says the innkeeper. "Do you mean to tell me that your horse eats of oysters?" "Oh, aye," says Franklin, "aye. Very fond indeed he is of them, too. Most remarkable things. You've never seen anything like this in all your life. But within a matter of moments, sir, that plate of oysters shall be gone." "Very well, sir. I shall naturally do as you command me," says the innkeeper. And out he proceeds towards the stables, followed by that room full of men by the fire. I've also never before seen a horse eat of oysters who wish to take that opportunity. So now you see, Franklin's all alone. He wends his way over to the fireplace and finds the most comfortable seat. He begins to enjoy his hot toddy in great comfort and style. When after a very brief spell, amidst a general hubbub, return the innkeeper and all of these men. And the innkeeper approaches and says, "Begging your pardon, sir, but I presented these oysters to your horse as you directed me, and, well, he'd have none of them. Indeed, he turned his nose up at them." "Oh, yes," says Franklin, "yes. He does that from time to time. Well, here, just give them to me. I'm sure I'll enjoy them now."
What was that?